Howdy ho there, fishermen, back with another video today. We are going to take a look at some new equipment that I just purchased, which is for catfishing. I didn't have a catfish rod, thought I'd go get one somewhere real quick. So the first thing that I bought here is an Ozark Trail grit stick. So this was purchased at Walmart. Ozark Trail is a Walmart brand. It is a 2-piece 7-foot rod with a 5000 series spinning combo reel. You can see kind of here 1 ball bearing, 5:1 gear ratio, kind of what line capacity comes on it. It does have 12-pound line on it to start off. So very cool that it has that on there. So we are going to rig this line up here on this video for everybody to see kind of how I like to do it, and then maybe talk about some of the baits that I like to throw, things like that, adjusting the drag there a little bit. So, but that is the first thing. And then for the terminal tackle, and we'll go through this here first, is the H2OX Catfish terminal kit. Total piece is 150. The rod was actually on sale at Walmart for like $24, I believe, and then this was on sale with Academy because H2OX is the Academy brand. It was actually on sale for $19.99. So for 150 total pieces of equipment for 20 bucks, that is absolutely fantastic. So here is what it looks like. It is in a nice little tray. Some of the stuff that you already can see through there and stuff. So we will get this pulled open as I rip through what is in this box label here. So what you've got here is, if I can get it open, of course it's going to make it be difficult for me. Alright, there we go, getting it partially torn apart there. So there we go, as it comes open. So here is what is in the kit. So you have some wide gap hooks, multiple different sizes over here on the left. You have some treble hooks with a spring on them that are extra to the bait casters. Have some more just basic regular hooks here as well. Some leaders with some hooks on them, so that's pretty nice that there's some leaders with some hooks on them as well. Some more leader type stuff with swivels on the bottom of them. Some beading at the top there, double-ended swivels. So that is very cool. You get some more basic treble hooks, which are always nice to have, especially catfishing. Then you have barrel swivels, which are nice. You have your regular snap swivels that are obviously very cool to have as well. And then you have a couple bait hogs, which obviously you kind of build them within the setup here. Some much bigger 3-sided, I actually don't know what you would call those, swivels, but obviously swivels. Some bait floats, which are very cool, good to have, especially if you're fishing down in a river, anything like that. So bobbers. Then you have in here some really big swivels, massive swivels that you can use. I think these are going to be stops for the floats that you can put on the line, or just maybe even just cushions. 4 beads that you see up here. They are pink in color. My fingers are too big to get them out. So there's the beads you can put on there to kind of stop things from going too far. Like if you don't want you want weights to stop at a certain point, things of that nature. Here is a bite indicator bell you can put on the tip of the rod, and then when it gets a bite, obviously you'll hear that, which will alert you. Try to put this back in where it's supposed to be. Then you have some egg weights. I call them egg weights. Not sure if that's what everybody calls them, but very cool little weights. And then 2 different types of, actually these are egg sinkers too. Alright, kind of resemble an egg, but they don't have the brass coming off the end of them. You just slide them on and they go back and forth. A lot of times what I'll do is put a split shot a little ways up on something like this, just so that it doesn't make it all the way down to the swivel. So that is all of the tackle in the Catfish terminal kit that H2OX sells. And then this booklet here, which you can read, is Catfish rigging suggestions. So how different people recommend doing the putting the swivel, putting bait on, if you're going to do dough bait, things of that nature. So that is that. And then I am going to get the rod ready to go here. I haven't ever done a slip rig or a sinker slider rig, single drop rig. I haven't done any of those. Dough bait rigs I've done, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I usually on a dough bait rig use a normal swivel. This is showing more of a barrel swivel, so that way I can switch it out if I want to go to a hook with worms or anything like that. So let's move on here to getting the actual rod all rigged up. So I'm going to take this and check this and move it for just a second. So here is, again, the rod. It is about 7 foot tall, so most of the rod is going to be out of frame most of while I do this. But what you obviously are going to do is, see if I can pull this tag off of here easily. There it goes. There's all the information. Pause it if you want to go look for it. And then here is your rod. Like I said, lined with 12-pound test already on there. So good size for most catfish. Maybe, if you want to go a little heavier, up to 20 or something like that, you could. But I'm not going to put anything new on there. I'm just going to use the stuff that Walmart put on it. And then take the line out of the line catch, open the bail just to make it a little bit easier on me, hopefully. And see if I can get it loose. It's more line pinned in the hold than I thought. Okay, there we go. So, in pulling out the line off of the reel, there it goes. Had a little bit of drag there for a little bit, but now we're good. Feed it up through the eyelets here. Keep feeding it up through. Oh, dropped it, of course. Then through the last one, and then give yourself plenty of line off the end of the rod to maneuver with. Obviously the line is a little curled because it's probably been on this rod for who knows how long, sitting on the shelf at Walmart, hence why it was a $24 rod and reel. They're probably looking for new space on their shelves, so you will do that, and then pull everything out tight as best you can. Obviously you're just going to deal with the end of the line, so I'm going to push my rod back that way. But then, so here is the end of your line. So now this is where all of it begins. So the first thing, grab my Catfish terminal kit that I just pushed off to the side. Grab it and pull it out. So a lot of times I like to use these types of weights. So I, sometimes feed them on, sometimes I will tie them specifically in a spot so that way they aren't running up and down the line, getting too close to the weight, because you don't necessarily want a ton of resistance. Catfish like to bite the line and take off with it. So I might actually, just for giggles, try out this one right here, this sinker slider rig. Looks kind of interesting, not something that I have usually done, but might be a new test, and then go out this weekend and test it out and see how it works. So sinker slider rig, so obviously pyramid or egg weight, need the swivel, and one of these black kind of bumper stops here, and then I'm gonna actually even go a little bit further, and I'm gonna put one of these swivels. Oh, nope, wrong pocket. One of these swivels right here on there, so that way if I want to switch between fishing with a worm, or if I put together one of these dough bait worms, which these are the plastic ones. I actually kind of prefer the more cloth ones. I feel the dough bait sticks to them a little bit better, but for today we'll rig it up like this says, with a bit of a with a hook on it for wind. So here is how it starts off. Looks like you would feed the sliding swivel, which was this thing, I do believe, yep, onto your line. Okay, maybe there's a couple that aren't connected to each other. There it is. So you would take this and feed it through the line, through the hole. There is that. Beautiful. This also has a leader, obviously, which I don't necessarily have any leader cut, so that is going to be an interesting move here in a second for me to figure out what I want to do, because that has a leader coming off of the swivel near up here. So, but I do have line and stuff over there in my other tackle box, so I may grab that here in just 1 second. So throw that on there, and then we will tie on, we will slide the almost like a bumper stop type deal here, and tie it on to there like so. So now that is tied on, that is tied on, so that is vast majority of that type of predicament. So might just end up with way too much equipment on this line here, but what we'll do, so like that's on there, then that pyramid or egg weight will go on there, and then it says obviously swivel. So I am actually going to tie on the barrel swivel like what it shows. I do just like a regular, I always just tie like a regular fisherman's knot on this. So through the hole, wrap it around the line, like 5, 6, whatever you feel, whatever floats your boat or totes your goat, if anybody knows the old commercials that you trade, I think. But so continue to, if my fingers will work, wrap the line around and around. There's probably enough. Back through the loop, which should, again, if my fingers begin to work for me, and there I dropped it, because of course I did, lost a few of my loops it looks like. So go back through once, twice, and there's my big loop at the end. Push that through, grab it with my fingers here, grab it with my fingers, beautiful. Thought I did, okay, there it is, just like that. Just pull on that. I usually pull on the main line that I'm not going to pull off there. There's obviously the tag line. I will make sure that I cut that off here when we get to the end. So that is nice and tight. So that goes on there like so. So now everything comes up, and it will just hit that barrel swivel there like so. So it looks like that. Again, I'm going to cut that tag line here in a second. We will take the time to pinch this open. Of course, it's brand new, so it doesn't have near the flex that it would normally. Use a little bit of the heavier weight and get to the bottom quicker. Also just bigger and can hang up on more stuff. If I can get it out there with my fingers. And now I'm just picking up. Sometimes these things, they build them for skinny people fingers. That just doesn't work out for me. So then slide that onto there like so, and there's that. So that is the first portion of it. So now we will work on our leader and everything over here in 1 second. Alright, and I am back. Grabbed some 12-pound fluorocarbon that I'll use as a leader. And as I said in my first video, if you've seen it, where I went through my tackle boxes and stuff, my oh so important line clippers, I will cut off that tag line, and just when we're out fishing, if we're rigging something on the side of the lake, let's just make sure we pick up our tag lines and stuff. You leave, line around, and it just doesn't help anybody. It gets in people's way, and it's obviously can get tangled up in other animals that are walking around. If everybody left a little bit of tag line out there, nobody'd have any fun fishing. So there is that. And then this obviously doesn't say how much leader, but I'm not going to take a whole lot of leader, just enough to make it worth my while. So maybe about, plus I'll have to tie it off, so maybe about right there. I'm going to cut it now with my line clippers. This is 12-pound Seeger red label, 100% fluorocarbon, good stuff. It's what I have on my bass fishing rod as well. Good thing I let that drop to the ground, because that was what I wanted it to do. Then that, you put that through there. Fluorocarbon line back in there. Big old spool of that 12-pound fluorocarbon, because all I have used it for is leaders. Now granted, on my bass fishing line it is a huge amount of leader. This obviously is not near as much. Onto the barrel swivel we go. We will take this and tie it off like so. There we go. Put that through the loop. I think I missed. No, I didn't. I had no faith in myself. Story of my life. Pull on this. Boom. Nice and tight. As you can see, I'm pulling on it pretty hard. It's not going anywhere. Don't cut your tag line off too far, because if you cut your tag line off too close, like if I come all the way down here, chances are it could still slip out when a fish is pulling on it, and then you wind up with just a swivel with no leader coming back. And after fighting a fish, that would be a quite sad day. I've done it before. I've also just cast it out and lost my line because I haven't had it tied on very well. And then just take this swivel here, and we will tie it on as well. Continue to go in there. Kind of doing this backwards because I'd much rather be using my right hand more and holding the swivel with my left, but that's okay as long as I get the loops around the line there. I feel like that's pretty close to good. We then again put it through here. Kind of whiffed on it. It's kind of hard because I'm trying to hold the swivel while at the same time trying to. There it is. Grab that, pull it tight via the main line, boom, snaps into position there, and then we just cut off, once again, a tag line. Beautiful. And just real quick, once again, give it a tug once I've cut the tag line, make sure that that new tag line doesn't slip through. And then for today, just so that we actually finish it all the way off for you guys, open up the swivel, grab whatever hook you feel like using. Here's a nice, looks like a wide gap hook with pretty good barb on there. Slide it onto the swivel and onto the line. So there it is, everybody. So leader, weight, leader, swivel, hook. Put that sinker slider rig over there, shows like maybe live bait or something like that on there. But like I said, I like to use the swivel in this manner because maybe I'm using dough bait, it's not working, so then I want to throw some live bait or some worms on the bottom so I can switch that out super quick. So there you all have it. Again, just rigging up a new line. I probably will go out this weekend and try to see how it works, try and catch some fish. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, anything, throw them down in the comments. Like and subscribe to the video, and we will have more content coming out here in a week. Thank you so much.